Hi everyone, welcome to this AMA between Creator DAO and Genomes. We got here Mark.io and Chum. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good.
I think Markio's just getting his audio sorted, so I think we're just gonna just kick it off with probably one of the most exciting things that's cooking over at Genomes, and maybe we can pass that over to Chum. How do we pronounce your name? Chum.
Choo-choo-moon.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so tell us about this the idea with Alchemix.
Yeah, so the idea is a little bit like, at least I like to think of it like this, like a mental model. But basically think of it like a Thanksgiving dinner, right? And if you just have one person invite you to Thanksgiving dinner and they're like, oh, I'm not even gonna bring a turkey, I'm just gonna go get like turkey slices from like the grocery store. And it's like, in your head, you probably think, oh, that's probably not gonna be a really like lively and great Thanksgiving dinner. But say you have another Thanksgiving dinner that you're invited to, and they're gonna have, turkey and cranberry sauce and mashed potatoes and everything. There's going to be a bunch of people there. You're probably going to want to go to the more lively one. And this kind of relates back to Genomes DAO in that the more genomes you have in these vaults at Genomes DAO, and the more diverse those genome sets are, right? The better it is for the whole ecosystem. It's like a positive feedback loop. So say, for example, maybe a company like 23andMe, right? When they first started off, they probably distribute their sets, their genome kits, to the surrounding area, maybe Palo Alto. And you probably get one demographic of genomes. Those who are quite literally like, Googlers, Amazoners, things like that. And while that's interesting and good, it gives you just one sort of flavor of genomes. But you would want to make these sets more useful to pharma companies or research partners and things like that. You would want these to be much more diverse. So that's kind of what this partnership with Alchemix is, where we're using their DeFi protocol to get a self-paying loan to basically distribute these kits to communities that would, for communities where it would be cost prohibitive to get, a $500 genomic sequencing. So with this, we can actually provide them with the kit, and once they get their genome sequenced, they can earn passive income from their genome being in our Genomes DAO vaults. So it kind of is a really interesting way to utilize DeFi to provide underserved community with a means to generate passive income. And I think that's just the whole ethos of crypto. You're just combining, I've heard the term money Legos, where you combine this thing here, and then put them together and create something entirely new, something the world's never seen.
Hi guys, can you hear me? This is Papago, I'm CEO of Genomes. Mark and I are trying to get in. I hope you can hear me, because I struggled with microphones or whatever. Didn't want to interrupt Chum. But I'm here as well, just so you know.
Awesome.
We can hear you.
Hand it off to Aldo.
Your mic is actually maxing out. If there's a way to make the output slightly less.
Very sorry, I worked out the problem on my end. This is Mark. My Wi-Fi was blocking all audio channels, so I was like, why is it not working on my desktop or my phone? It's like, because you're on the same Wi-Fi. I switch Wi-Fi, works. It's crazy.
Awesome.
Nice.
So we've got a pretty good introduction to this idea about Alchemix, and we kind of hinted at what Genomes is a little bit. obviously, like the idea of Chuchumoon.
Chuchumoon.
Chuchumoon, like is mentioned this idea of having a set of genome sequences. Am I using the right term there?
Kits.
Okay, and then the kit does a test, and the test is called the test result is called a
Genomic sequence.
Genomic sequence, right?
And then you get the genomic sequence, and we put it in a vault for you.
So then having, like, the idea of having one genomic sequence is good, but having 1,000 is better. Having 10,000 is even better. And so reaching like this critical number makes it much more attractive to people who are doing research and stuff like this. Is this right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's it's kind of an infinite loop here, right? You get a genome sequence, and pharmaceutical companies want that data. They want to ask questions of that data, and so one of the big problems is that in North America, lots of people have had their genome sequenced. In sub-Saharan Africa, in the developing world, in Southeast Asia, not many people have. But the pharmaceutical companies want their drugs to work everywhere. There's 1 billion people in Southeast Asia, there's 1 billion people in India, and so they want it to work everywhere. They want their drugs to be as effective for everyone. And so the way they can test that is by asking questions of genomes. And so a great thing is if we can get genomes.gov, the American government tweeted out a meme yesterday saying that we don't have enough diversity in genomes. So the number of 10,000 is, if you have 10,000 genomes, then pharmaceutical companies want to start querying those 10,000 genomes repeatedly. And so they will pay to do so. So if you are somebody who has your genome in a vault, then you can make money on it. And so the Alchemix idea is we use DeFi to fund public goods. So lock away some Ethereum, get some DAI or stablecoins, use it to pay for the kits, and then give them away to people in the developing world or the or underserved populations. Sorry.
Okay. So how does this fit in with the bigger picture of Genomes? So Genomes DAO is about to do a raise, and that raise will be used to scale up the amount of tests that you guys can get done, which is what we've just been talking about. One of the things that you guys are wanting to do is to get these test kits into as many hands as possible in a way that makes sense financially. So how does could you tie it to, could you I know we've got Aldo here as well, who's on the business development side.
Sure.
Could you kind of tie it a little bit together, like the bigger picture of how you guys see this fitting in,
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that question. I think what we're trying to achieve is an exercise at scale, right? So as you indicated yourself, we're not out there to sequence one genome, not 1,000, as many as we can. So tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of whoever basically wants to sequence their genome. Through a possible collaboration with the Alchemix protocol, we also hope to provide and to help people with that sequencing, because there's a lot of value in the data, and I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to educate as many people as we can to basically demonstrate that they should take care of that data, because that data is the blueprint to who they are. And once they work with a direct-to-consumer genetic company, such as 23andMe or any other ancestry companies, they basically waive the ownership over that data to these companies. So these companies basically are then entitled to cross-sell very specific data to pharmaceutical companies, research organizations, whoever can use them for the development of precision medicine. And those individuals who basically, given that data, will never see a dime of all the money these companies are making. So
Hey,
we are basically.
Can I just stop? I just want to stop you. I just want to stop you there, and can you please just check? I don't know what kind of mic you're using, but maybe either go a little bit further back from the mic, or like adjust your settings, because it's
very loud.
It's popping the mic. It's kind of like blowing. It's redlining the volume.
Okay,
right?
let me get rid of the mic in its entirety. See if.
Yeah. So just do a little sound. Just like have a little fiddle with your dials and stuff, and do a little sound check.
Is this better?
Yeah, that sounds better. Just have a wee sound check.
Sorry?
Maybe. Yeah, that is better. Maybe turn it up a little bit more.
A little bit like this. Sorry about that. It's this microphone. I've got rid of the microphone, the bigger microphone, and now doing it on another one.
No, this is good. So
I just
I'll
do
ask
it?
the question. I'll ask the question again.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So we've heard a little bit about this, this idea of using these money Legos or DeFi Legos to, and using some of the money that will be raised through the Miso launch that's coming up to be able to basically deposit into Alchemix and then have a loan, which is a self-repaying loan that can be used sort of as a business development facility, really, but you could almost consider it borderline charity. I think it's got a twofold purpose in that it will be, obviously it is benefiting the Genomes DAO to get these test kits into people's hands, but also giving someone a test kit and putting them in control of their genome sequence or their genomic sequence is basically giving them basically like passive income potential, like for the rest of their life, and in fact longer than the rest of their life. It should actually go on intergenerational. So, but what my question is how, like, so I think it is a business development strategy, but what exactly is the business development plan? I mean, how, like, talk a little bit about the numbers, about, how many tests would you like to see done through the Genomes platform in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Like, what do you guys need to do to kind of start to really like take a little bit of market share? Talk a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, Mark and I, we like to think big, because there's no point in doing this, as I said before, for 1 or 5 people. So in all, we would like to have 1 billion genome sequence. That's not in 3 months or in 6 months, but we want to think big here. We want to set out a big strategy, and the main reason for this has to do with ownership, giving back the ownership of someone's DNA back to, the person who actually has that DNA. For some reason, that currently isn't the case. And I think that is something that not a lot of people are aware of, that if you are currently cooperating with people who do that sequencing for you, they do the sequencing for you, but they also get to keep the data. That is an era that we live in, and we're basically saying, no, that's not what we're going to do. We do the sequencing for you, and we give the data back to you so you can make money from it. And as you indicated yourself, that can be a passive income because the data is in a vault. Now, the we want to think scale, and that is where the business development angle comes in, because the organizations interested in querying the data, they also want to query the data in big quantities. They have no interest in just querying one. They would, much rather query 1,000, 10,000, or 1 million in one go. So, and currently there are already, these types of deals being struck between, for instance, 23andMe and GlaxoSmithKline back in 2018. They did a deal for $300 million, querying 5 million exomes that 23andMe made available to GlaxoSmithKline. So, and none of that money, none of that 300 million went back to the 5 million people who are the actual owners of the data, right? So that's what we profoundly believe is wrong. We're basically saying, well, if you're going to use the data of these people, it's very important that you give back a little bit to these people. So what our vaults do is we make sure your genome is in there, that you are the only one who can access that genome via that vault. And because it's on our system, we can ask you permission to open a small part of that vault once we receive a request from a pharmaceutical company or research organization or otherwise, to basically say, can we open that little piece of that vault that speaks to that part of your sequence that, for instance, relates to whether you're susceptible to getting heart disease or, whatever it is. So it's query per query that we basically knock on your door and basically ask with your permission, and making it very transparent to you what your reward will be, what will happen with your data, etc., 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 before your data is actually being used. And that is really where we'd like to think that we are that we're different, and that we really have a profound tool to offer to people, for their data to get sequenced and to make income in doing so.
And just to follow up a little bit on what Aldo said on these numbers are not crazy. If you look at the projections for genomic sequencing by 2025, the projections say that 1.2 billion people on the planet will have had their genome sequenced by 2025. So we're looking at, 3 years from now? And we're saying we want to capture as much of that as possible. Our target is 1 billion. But in the short term, there's going to be 1.2 billion stored somewhere, probably on Amazon Web Services buckets that can be, publicly available, and risking all of the privacy leaks. You don't have to watch the new James Bond to see the extreme privacy leaks that can happen, and targeting people and killing people based on their genome and what have you. But the threats are real, and when we talk about the way in which we're going to scale it, the short term is working with individuals and talking about the self-repaying loans and seeing how we can work on that level. But the long-term plan is working on organizations, and we are building as we speak the organizational platform that allows charities, rare disease organizations to upload genomes on behalf of their members. But the blockchain angle here is the blockchain allows the repeat querying, the repeat consent. Encrypted vaults allow the anonymity, so you never have to give that way, and you're securing your privacy. And then the different DeFi workflows are allowing us to, I think for the first time, use DeFi for physical goods, and whether it's a public good or whether it's your own personal good, it's a simple workflow to say, if you've got ETH lying around and you're not doing anything with it, or you're making a couple of % on it, you could lock it up for 6 months and get a kit sent out to you. And there's interesting models between the crypto and the physical world, which we can support in a way that I don't think anyone's done before.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing, just from the crypto angle, but like the current model that Aldo and Mark mentioned, like you're literally, if you're using like something like 23andMe or Ancestry or any of these things, like you're literally paying them money to rug you. Like it's like the ultimate rug. Like the current model is so bad. You don't keep your data, you give your data away, they end up selling the data. It's just like astronomically bad. It's like the ultimate rug, you know.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree. But it is like that because there's just no other model. Like people go with it because there's nothing else until now, right? Which is where we'd like to come in because people are curious. They want to know more about their DNA and the information they can retrieve and read from their DNA. You know, they want to understand. They want to understand each other better. You want to understand yourself better from every angle, and your DNA is an ideal tool to do so. And what we're saying is, well, you can do all of that and make money on top of it, and not only giving it away so other people can make money of it, which is currently happening, but you know, so we would like to think that we're adding something and indeed preventing other organizations from organizing such a rug. So yeah, 100%.
Let me just add one other thing. What's crazy is that, like, you know, I remember a couple of years ago, I actually got my mom one of these ancestry kits for like Christmas. And I was like, Mom, here. And like in hindsight, I'm like, wow, like that was such a bad idea. Like what in hindsight, I'm like, that was, you know, that's horrible. Why did I do that? And the crazy thing is that I don't think a lot of people really understand how important that data is right now, but you can just look, I think like Blackstone, as Mark said, right? Some of these big pharma companies are partnering with 23andMe, like a company like Blackstone, a big private equity company. I think they made like a $1 billion acquisition or minority stake in Ancestry. And it's like, that's really weird. Like, why is Blackstone, a big private equity company, so interested in people's genomes? And the other thing too, I was just watching like 60 Minutes like this past weekend. The author of the book *Sapiens*, he said that, you know, some of these big tech platforms, right, like Facebook or something or Instagram, these platforms are just so insane. It's like for example, like your sexual orientation, like these platforms know your sexual orientation based on how you interact with them, even before maybe you do. And that's just things with like you're interacting with the physical world. What happens when something like Facebook or Google or Amazon or any of these big tech companies know what you're doing in the physical world, but they also know your genomics? Like that's scary.
Wow, that actually is scary. Yeah. So how do we? Okay, like the question I think on a lot of people's minds, like coming from like, if let's just say I'm considering investing in this Miso launch that's coming up on which date?
16th of November. Tuesday, 16th of November.
Okay, so Tuesday, 16th of November. I'm listening to this interview, right? I'm listening to this AMA, and I'm hearing that I'm hearing that there's a launch that Genomes DAO is raising, trying to raise 1,000 ETH is the goal.
Correct.
And I want to know what's in it for me, like what's in it for me as an investor, and also how can I have assurance that, like, okay, so what does Genomes DAO need to do to get a minimum level of success or market share so that I as an investor can see a return on my investment? So what would that what does that look what does that look like? What would you say to that investor?
So I think the key thing, as a purely investment point of view, you start with we're building the Genomes DAO. If you want to be a part of the Genomes DAO, we have a utility token gene and a governance token called Gnome. The utility token gene is available only in the public sale coming on the 16th of November. In order to earn the governance token, you need to stake that gene. So the only way to get into the Genomes DAO as a owner is to get your hands on Gnome that way. So the best way to do that right now, buy some Gene on the 16th of November, stake it, and make some Gnome. That then obviously we all know what DAOs are, we all know how that's evolving, we all know we're looking to do, profit sharing and things like this, and having a steady flow of income for you as an investor. The other side to it, of course, is that, I was just thinking about memes and this whole idea of not your keys, not your coins, not your vault, not your data, right? The idea that if everybody is going to get your genome sequenced, then it's a great way to engage with us, because if you get some gene, you can get your kit sequenced, you can start making income on that as well. And instead of having your local doctor do it and sending it away to God knows where, you can be in control of it from day one, because there are massive understandings in better health from your genome. And we see this already. We see people understanding that they can diagnose themselves for certain conditions, they can better treat themselves going forward. So the best way to lock that up going forward as well is to do it through Genomes, and the best way into that is to participate in the token sale on the 16th of November. But from a purely investor degen focus, you stake that gene, you earn some Gnome, 2 coins, both have value. So it's DeFi passive income on steroids.
Okay, so can we tackle the part of the question where we're trying to figure out so the number of 10,000 genomic sequences has been put forward to be a kind of a number where this is where bigger companies start to want to query your data set, right? So this is
right.
I'm assuming that this is the first goal in terms of
what
number, in terms of the Genomes vaults, or everyone owns their own vault, right? But the number of genomic sequences on the Genomes platform, when that number is 10,000, is this when we yeah?
And go ahead.
Sorry, I'm going to have to jump as well, guys, but I'll let Papalda take it from here. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I've got to go and talk to Ethan. Thanks.
No worries.
No, you're correct, Duncan. So we have identified 10,000 as a critical threshold, and we've been working and partnering with many pharmaceutical organizations and healthcare organizations, as well as research charities and rare disease charities already. And 10,000 is really where we achieve a critical threshold and grow further from there. The way we seek to grow is not only is directly to the consumer. So yes, we would have 10,000 individual vaults, but the way we broker these relationships is not only on the B2C end. So that's not kind of asking every consumer individually to do this. So to give you an example, we are partnered with an initiative in Australia, which specifically looks at rare diseases, rare genetic diseases within the indigenous community. And so this organization is looking to partner with an organization like Genomes. They have 2,000 people who would like to have their genome sequenced, and they would like to do it in a very secure and a very private manner, not violating any of the privacy of the people they're working with, and they partner with us. So, and that allows us right away already to get 2,000 vaults opened by working with this organization, meaning that the logistics of this specific relationship is taken care of by the organization we're partnered with. So the path to our growth is, yes, definitely through the B2C avenue, and we're very happy that is already working. We did a big campaign on Indiegogo. We had many people buying the kits directly. They're excited in the story. They're buying kits. They want to go with this. we're very happy that we're selling that through Indiegogo and in the near future directly through our site. But on the other hand, we're also behind the screens working with lots of national sequencing initiatives, which is the best way to describe them, to partner with them because they want to work with us because then they don't have this specific logistical part to deal with and this specific privacy end to deal with. And I'm happy to say that these deals are growing quickly as well. So we're quite confident that we are able to get it to 10,000 very quickly, and that's just the very beginning. Hopefully, many more from there.
Hi, Popaldo. I have a question about working with these national initiatives. So when you partner with, for example, I think Mark I.O., he mentioned before in an earlier interview, the Armenian Genomic Sequencing Initiative from the government of Armenia, do you guys provide one vault for that whole initiative and they become a DAO member, or do you give an account or a vault to every single person that's genome has been sequenced by them?
Well, in essence, it would be the latter, but it's kind of sponsored. So basically, you should think of a white label Genomes.io environment for the sequencing initiative. So it's not that there is one vault where all sequences are put in. That's not the case. So we are indeed talking about as many people as there are, that we will have that amount of vaults available. The difference is that it will be available in a secluded area which is initiated by that specific sequencing initiative, right? And then the individuals can then tell us whether they are also interested to participate in basically the mainstream database. So, we don't want to force our hand. We basically want to offer the options to everyone who has a vault, and basically would like to say, hey, here's what Genomes.io kind of globally does, and you can participate, but they came in via our client, which is that sequencing initiative, if that makes sense. And then from there on, for the research purposes, so when we look at specific hereditary diseases within the indigenous community in Australia, then we work with a specific research partner to make sure that we only query that part of the sequence that speaks to that specific disease or that specific condition, right? So also for that part, it's not that the entire sequence will be sliced and diced. It's just that specific part which which deals with the research question at hand. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just also add for the crypto folks. I think it's good to think of these vaults as your individual crypto wallet too. And if you think of it like that, you'd have your ledger or your MetaMask or something. Think of the vaults a little bit like that as a mental model.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Chamchamun, I think all these things you're saying are great. The way that you have the ability to kind of take the ideas of genomes and market it and express it in crypto-native terms, like describing the legacy genomic sequencing companies as rugs, whereas you guys are a fundamental money Lego in the DeFi ecosystem. I think that's something that you guys can really focus on when we're marketing and trying to spread the idea among people on crypto Twitter and so on.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I just think the whole project really resonates with the ethos of Web3 and really taking control of your data. And I think the other thing I wanted to mention is that right now, the reason why we're doing this thing with Alchemix is some of these kits, they're $400, $500, right? That's the cost of whole genome sequencing, but the way, and Aldo can speak to this, but these costs are going down so dramatically and so quickly that there'll probably be a time where it might actually be extremely negligible to get a whole genome sequenced. Maybe at some point it'll quite literally be free, by the government. Or any provider, it'll get that cheap. And the thing is, if you have this infrastructure in place by Genomes DAO, why would you go give your DNA to a company like Ancestry or 23andMe or any of these other providers that are just rugging you, right? If you have the option to just put it in one of these vaults, they're similar to like a crypto wallet. And when someone wants to query a specific part, you'll get like a notification on your phone saying like GlaxoSmithKline or Pfizer or whatever wants to like query this part of your genome. You'll get paid like $50 worth of gene tokens. Like it just kind of makes sense the way things are going. But Aldo may know a little bit more on like how these whole genome sequencing costs are going down so dramatically.
No, I mean the bigger players in the market, they have already announced. I think they made that announcement last year that they could do it for $100 in 1 year's time. Now you should imagine that the cost of sequencing the first genome back in 2000 was around $1 billion, right? So just compare that in 22 years from $1 billion to $100, how quickly that could go. And this is another indication that the value of this entire sequencing process is not in the actual sequencing action that's done and executed in the laboratories itself. It is in the data. And that is, just another indicator that you need to be so conscious and so aware that we're just at the tip of the iceberg of what we can say by reading your genomic data. Right? This is just the very beginning. That's evolving super quickly, and there's so much in there, and therefore that's kind of another flag for us to see. Like, okay, because there's so much in there, you better be cautious with just waving that and just giving it away, because people will have information about you and on you before you have it, right? And that's kind of a scary scenario.
I've got a question. So when let's say you do the test with Ancestry.com, let's say you've already done a genomic sequence, and you have, so you have given it away, but you also have a copy. Am I right?
Yes. So I've got a
question. So are you trying? Have you got a strategy or does it make business sense for Genomes to also have a copy of that for someone who has already paid for the sequencing? Can they upload that sequence to a Genomes vault and start earning from that, or is the fact that they've already kind of given it away mean that the companies are just going to buy it for cheap from somewhere else? Do you understand the question?
No, I understand the question, and the answer is so our technology will also be built as such that we can ingest the VCF files, because that's what it's called. That basically are the result of the sequencing of people who have waved their data to companies like 23andMe and Ancestry.com. So the answer is yes, we can take on that data. You can also connect with 23andMe and Ancestry.com, telling them that you no longer want your data to be available. So those are options available to you. What I do need to point out is that what the difference between Genomes.io and these direct-to-consumer companies is we would do sequencing on something that is called a clinical grade. And that's a lot more granular than what 23andMe and Ancestry.com is doing. So we would have something called a wholly sequenced genome, and that is as granular as you can get it from your entire DNA, as detailed as is technically possible. Whereas 23andMe and Ancestry.com, they are legally currently dealing with something that we would like to call an exome. So that is at a lot less detailed, so to say. However, that's what they legally can do, because there's no reason for them not to step into this wholly genomic sequencing as well, right? So that's where you need to be cautious. They do say we will only sequence your exome. Therefore not having a clinical understanding of your DNA, but in the future that might change.
Yeah, and let me just add one other thing. I think like yes, obviously, like there's a chance that 23andMe and Ancestry, they could, as Aldo said, they could sequence the whole genome, the whole 3.2 billion base pairs. But what is kind of, I think with the whole Web3 movement, I think there's a chance you might actually see like kind of like what happened with Robinhood. Once people catch on, like, wow, like these companies were quite literally, we were paying them and then they were just rugging us. We might see a resurgence of like a Robinhood type scenario where people are like, wow, no, I don't want my DNA to be bought and sold to other, random parties through Ancestry or 23andMe. I'm just going to go and have them cancel my genome and whatever genomic information they have on me there, and then I'll go put it in, genome stat vaults. Right?
Is that,
I think once there's like a collective consciousness light bulb goes off and be like, wow, like we're getting rugged. I think there's a good chance people be like, why is my data there? I want it gone. And then
can they actually stop them once they've? Because obviously these companies' strategy is to basically, like you said, to get the genome sequence of a person and then sell that forever and share none of the money with that person. That's their business model, right? So is it like is making like a legal request to, is it possible? Like I've heard you guys say that it's possible that you can make like
it is possible. Well, first of all, we would encourage people to read the fine print when you buy such a product, right? Because I also made the mistake. I bought it for my father as well, and you're buried in paperwork when you basically agree to it. So not many people read the fine print. But if you read the fine print, then you will find that you are able to basically cancel your account, can ask 23andMe to take off your data, and you can also, you own the VCF file. You can basically reclaim the VCF file, which is the entire sequence of your exome, and you can put that in our vault, so to say. So you can then work with us similarly to how other people are working with us who started the vault with us from the get-go. So that is definitely possible. There's a clear signal that these companies are further investing in better understanding the data that they have. So a recent acquisition of 23andMe is again in a healthcare company that is reading data, that is understanding DNA data. So they're after reading your data and they're after doing stuff with your data. So that's just another indication that they're not. This is not an accident. This is not by accident that this happened. They are invested in you not caring about your DNA data, unfortunately, because that is where their business model is. So in fact, also last year there were cutbacks at these types of companies because the privacy issue. That not a day goes by that there's not kind of in the news something whereby there has been a hack or a privacy breach, or someone did not agree with the use of their data, of their DNA data in a specific manner. So these stories are, day by day are coming up, whereby, these companies make people feel more and more uncomfortable because people are starting to wake up and they're starting to realize, like, okay, what you're doing with your data, with my data, first of all, I didn't give you that permission, that explicit permission. And second of all, if you're making money off it, then, where's my share? Which I think is a very fair question.
I've got, I want to change tacks a little bit and ask a little bit about the team, but the team behind, basically the team that's launching Genomes DAO. So,
yeah.
How many people are on the team? What are the roles of those people? And is there any plans for hiring? Obviously, part of this raise is about growing the DAO, growing the team to get done what you guys want to get done. So what is the current team, and what does the team look like, 3 to 6 months after this raise, all everything going according to plan?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and we're as indicated before, we're quite ambitious, so we want to grow the team as quickly as we can. Now, one of the things you need to understand is that there's the talk about the technology, and then there's the actual development of the tech stack and making sure that our technology can accommodate to the needs of 10,000 plus people, right? So for that, we need to be working with knowledgeable developers who can help us realize this, and we've written up our roadmap that is available on Gitbook, which we're more than happy to share, and also to you guys, so you can share it with whoever is interested, whereby you basically see our strategy in growing the team. Currently, the team is Mark, who's a geneticist, and has a deep understanding of genetic data and how it's being used, and myself. We have our other founders. We've got great people who understand the DAO space and know what's going on there, and kind of are working with us there. Equally so, we're also working with bioinformaticians who know genetic data and not only know it but also can develop code around it. Because we just like 23andMe want to be very resourceful and want to provide our users with the right reports and with a growing amount of reports. So you better understand your DNA data whenever a new type of querying or a new type of research becomes available. The data, because you've put your data in a vault, doesn't have to be that it just stays in there silently, not doing anything when you see that research is evolving. So we want to be just like direct-to-consumer companies like 23andMe or Ancestry.com. We want to be able to give you the data as they do, but we want to respect your privacy a lot more than they do. That's kind of the crucial difference. And on top of that, we want to give you some money if there is a commercial deal to be made here. So that is where effectively where we are different. So with the investment amount, the first kind of capital injection would be used to recruit the right developers to work alongside with us, and the second step would be growing our marketing and business development endeavors. Mark previously said that a lot of this sequencing is currently being dealt with in Northern America and Western Europe. But when you go to Southeast Asia or when you go to East Africa, those are still completely green fields. People don't know about sequencing. They don't understand genetic data and whatever. So there's massive wins to be made if you go in that direction and talk to these people, because also there people have an interest, right? It's all very interesting data to work with. So we also want to make strides there to grow our database and for everyone to understand themselves better.
Okay, cool. Can we just go? So on the team currently, there's what's your role?
I'm CEO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Mark is chief science officer, and I'm chief executive officer, and we're co-founders of Genomes.io. And then we have with us a knowledgeable team who does the front end development. So we are 6 people now in charge of the front end development. And then we have a number of developers dealing with the cryptography and making sure that our technology links up properly to the AMD tech stack that we're using, which is called SEV. To make sure that we can, the data is safe and that the data can be read properly. So we have also developers for that. But we want to grow our operations on that end to make sure that it's more robust and that we can scale it as well.
What programming languages do they work with on the back end? like they're working with cryptography, but is there like a particular language that they work with?
Yeah, so for the front end development, I think it's just like a regular platform. I will get you the development language. I think it's JavaScript, but I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Where I do know that we're quite cutting edge is where basically our cryptography works with the SAV ES technology from AMD, and kind of that. So it's not just us; it's also AMD who we're partnered with, who's very happy to go. Also, who speaks publicly about our partnership, and we're so happy because they are such a fortress when it comes to dealing with specific data like that. And it makes us, it makes our technology also, quite a strong one and quite a good one to work with. And for the cryptography part, I'm afraid I'm going to have to revert you to our lead developer in charge there, who can give you who can fine tune that.
Awesome. Because I assume that as the DAO kind of advances, there might be opportunities for developers to sort of throw their hand up and say that they want to contribute in some way. So that's why I was asking just about the tech stack.
Most definitely, we are already actively recruiting, so right. It's very interesting to hear from them, and definitely get in touch. We've made it a part of our roadmap for people to get in touch with us because we're looking. Because the more people that we can do this with, the better.
And I also assume that you're recruiting on the business development side for people to deal with organizations around the world. On a B2B level, would that be
correct?
Accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. Mark as well as myself. This is not our first tech enterprise. We've founded multiple companies, and we're very happy to say that these are growing and these are working and whatever. We have an understanding of the research market and research data specifically. So we do know our way in this specific market. But you're very right. We need extra people who also know this market, who can help us approach more of these organizations. So again, healthcare organizations, pharmaceutical organizations, rare disease charities, and other research organizations who basically are interested to work with our technology.
Awesome. So I'm sort of getting like a kind of a vision of what, maybe what this DAO might look like in, say, 2 to 3 years time. Obviously we're building up to a pretty key moment with the Miso launch coming, 16th of November. So there's a roadmap that's publicly available. There's obviously the Discord is active, where the community's like forming up. What do you say, like, in terms of the product itself? So the product is basically an app. There's a mobile app, right?
Yeah.
And then it obviously it links up with the kits. So it's a physical testing kit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got in the back end, you've got these vaults, and then I assume there's some kind of API where these big pharmaceutical companies can come and make requests for data. What are the vaults ready? Are there already sequences in the vaults? And then same question for the mobile app. Is the mobile app live? Is it in the App Store? Will it be in the App Store?
It's already there. So the vaults are ready, and the app is already available in the App Store. We started the company in 2018, and the first 2 years of our existence, we really spent on extensively developing the technology. So this is also the reason why we're doing this now, why we're now working with Sushi, because we already have a technology to demonstrate a product that is working. We've already made the sales. We did a campaign via Indiegogo. People are buying this kit, and we are ingesting their data into vaults, and that entire flow is already set up.
Okay, so this is not a rug. This is a real business.
Yeah,
Not a rug.
yes, yeah, no, it's we have a track record. As I said before, Mark and I, we have founded companies before. We love the game of setting up companies, building companies, growing companies, and we're excited to be working together on this one. And it's already been around since 2018. So and we just want to accelerate and further develop the technology. And we're so excited that we could do that by bringing it together, with introducing a token and working with a token, because a token really also empowers, the people who have these vaults. They can really commercialize on their data if they want to, and we can literally put our money where our mouth is when we say you can make passive income. That's really what the token allows us to do. So it's an extension of quite a developed tech stack that is already there, and is fully operational.
Yeah, and let me add one or two things from the crypto standpoint. I think one thing we always get asked is like, oh, well, why do you have to use a blockchain? Why are you using a blockchain? Well, there's two really big reasons, and one reason is that every query is actually like it's cemented on the blockchain. So if like Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline comes and says, hey, we want to open up this vault, like there is like definite like immutability showing that this vault was open, this vault was closed, or whatever on the blockchain. You can't like mess with that. It's not like you'll have 23andMe or Ancestry like be like, oh yeah, we'll tell you something about your ancestry, and then we'll go sell that data off, and you don't know what's happening with the data. Like you know exactly what's happening. And then two, which I think is the most interesting, is that imagine if Ancestry and 23andMe, they were in the form of a DAO. Right? They're not, but this project is in the form of a DAO, and it actually brings, by staking these gene tokens, you earn genome tokens. You actually have control of this, like you actually have a say and control like how these vaults will be used, and the future of the Genomes DAO. Right? Like this is the whole like idea of Web3, where you have a say. You grow your your assets grow as the community grows. This
project is basically like a poster child for so many different aspects of blockchain and Web3. I mean, you've got the whole privacy issue, and then you've got the cutting out of the middleman. Then you've got like the putting power back into your hands, like.
The DeFi.
Then like this idea with the ALCX or Alchemix. I mean, it really is. Oh, and also, what's even more interesting, I mean, the idea that this has an aspect in the real world, like we're talking about the raw material of life, but it's a physical, there's a physical test kit. So DeFi has been struggling to sort of integrate with real life. It's sort of a little bit of a closed off system. There are some inroads being made into the actual real world, but primarily because everything is on chain. Like we do have some oracles where we can get real world data onto the blockchain, and that is starting to happen. But in terms of DAO structures that are actually working on real business problems, that like this company was a company that had a business model, that had a goal it wanted to achieve prior to being a DAO, right? And that industry is a $1 billion industry in the real world, right? Like we know finance is also a $1 billion industry, but we also know that this, and obviously DeFi is primarily targeted towards finance. But what I find really interesting about this is that it's a merger between this scientific space and this medical space and DeFi, which means that there's inroads going into the real world. So in that sense, this is another area where Genomes is actually kind of breaking new ground.
No, we're very happy to hear that, and that's also how we think about it. So for me personally, working, on a DAO level and getting this into the crypto world is all about empowering the individuals that basically said, yes, I want to keep my data private, but also rewarding them directly to make that passive income. Because the privacy discussion is a nice discussion, it's a nice conversation. It makes up for nice chit chat, over dinner or drinks or whatever more. But secondary to that is that, it actually works. And I think this is where we have the best of both worlds coming together. We have these vaults, we've created these vaults already are holding the data. We have the ability to query the data. And now with introducing a token and really working with that token and giving it a life of its own into the crypto market, we're really giving that a value. And that is what we are so excited about, right? And that is where we see two great worlds coming together. I want to clarify one thing, because that came up in a kind of a Twitter discussion as well. We do not put any genomic data on the blockchain, right? So the data is in a vault. That vault is not on the blockchain. What is on the blockchain is the audit of when the data is queried and for which purpose, right? So I think that's very important to point out. It's not that we put genomic data on the blockchain for people to kind of work from there with the genomic data. The vaults are not on the blockchain. It communicates with the blockchain, so you can keep an audit trail of everything, but that's something different than that the data is physically there.
Yeah, like you actually would not want the data on chain just open there, because so.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm getting excited. This isn't my first time hearing about Genomes, but I'm getting super excited for what is coming with Genomes. I kind of like to think of myself as a little bit of a futurist, and I can just see such a rich kind of tapestry of all of these themes being woven together, and I'm thinking that I'm going to participate. I think I'm going to participate. I think I want to participate in the Miso launch. So, I think I'm going to be able to find out how to do that. I don't think it's going to be very hard, because I'm actually going to be helping to build a page for Genomes where Creator DAO can also incentivize people to participate in this Miso launch. But basically, Creator DAO and Genomes are partnering in this marketing campaign and the build up to the Genomes launch. And as part of that partnership, we're working on being able to offer some creator tokens as kind of an added bonus for participating. So the way that will work is that we'll have a page where people can go and put their address that they intend to use to buy the Gen token. And when you add your address there, if you do participate in the Miso launch, then we will have a record of that address, and we will airdrop you some creator tokens. So this is what we're planning to do. So attached with this this audio file, or wherever you're hearing this, there should be a link somewhere to go and basically show your intention that you are interested in participating in the Miso launch. And if you do so, along with getting, I'm not sure on the price, what the price of the Gen token will be at the sale. Maybe someone can answer that. But obviously that information will be available. But does anyone know what the price will be at the launch, or any more details about how the Miso launch functions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Mark. So Mark is kind of the one leading that, but
Yeah.
I think Mark mentioned that 1 ETH would get you 300,000 gene tokens, and for the Genome governance tokens, the only way to get those is if you are staking the gene.
Got you.
So,
but there's
yeah.
you don't have to spend 1 ETH though, right? You can spend any of
No.
Yeah.
You can spend any amount. It's in the form of a crowd sale. So
Caesar, you're here. I don't know if Caesar's actually going to be able to speak, but I know that he knows a little bit.
Yeah,
about
I am
Miso.
here, but
Yeah,
I'm just listening.
cool. Yeah. So is there like it's going to run for, I think, is it a week or does
it's a week. Yep.
Yeah, and
Until we meet our goal. Yeah.
And so everyone gets in at the same price, or does the price change over that week?
Yeah, so I think we were looking at different mechanisms, but just because to stay consistent with what we said earlier in the beginning, it's all going to be the same price. So
Okay.
it's going to be in a crowd sale, and all the tokens are at the same price.
Correct. It will be crowd sale that will be ongoing for a week, or when we sold out, whichever comes first.
Awesome.
How much is the seller, and is there any caps on individual purchases? Like, can somebody just buy the whole bag if they wanted to?
That's a good question, which I think Mark could help you more with.
Yeah, I think Mark knows that. But I can say for the pre-seed, there was a 100 ETH cap, and then no one entity could deposit more than 2 ETH because, obviously you didn't want a whale coming and taking all the tokens. So.
Okay. Awesome. Now I'm just going to check my little. List here. So I think.
Well, while you're checking, I have some questions.
Yeah.
If you're still checking.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'll just go for it then.
Yeah.
You were saying, I heard you say that there are some things that, like, it's a working product, it's ready to go, in the sense the vaults are up, the vaults have data in it, the kits are already going, but I didn't hear anything about, like, the app. Like, what can I do with the app? Let's say I get the kit, let's say I get my stuff sequenced. What are some of the things that I can do inside the app other than, like, of course I'll be able to get queries, like query offers, and get paid in the gene token, but over and above that, is there any sort of features I can do? Can I send my tokens to someone else? Can I buy a kit? What can I do inside the app other than just accept queries?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of things. So we also speak about that in our roadmap. Currently, if you open the app, it will lead you to a dashboard, and that dashboard shows you basically that your sequence is safe and sound in its vault. We have also developed specific reports, and so these are reports just like Ancestry.com and 23andMe that give you information about your ancestry, and then I think we've looked into another specific report, more speaking to hereditary diseases. So these are kind of bioinformatic reports that we have matched with the code. So once your sequence is on there, you as an individual would have the option to get those reports from us, and that's basically what we want to further develop. So genetic questions or questions based on your genome could, for instance, be my wife's pregnant. I'm curious to know more about the hair color of my children. So, as technology evolves, you're going to be able to do more. So we have a kind of a structure that we can adopt more of these reports, and all that information will become available to you through your dashboard. So there's Genomes.io developing itself further with new reports that are becoming available, us approaching you saying, hey, here's a new report available. Are you interested to know more of this? If so, then great if you can open your vault. So that's what we do as Genomes.io ourselves. And we currently already have 1 or 2 models available on that level. So if you go currently into the app, you're already able to work with that. And then there's indeed the part where through an API, pharmaceutical companies and research organizations are coming in. That is not completely ready yet, so we're gearing that up as we're also growing in terms of the number of available vaults. And then the third part to that is the entire tokenomics. The first step that we're taking is indeed that the tokens is going to be the system which will be used to for you to compensate you for the querying. So that's what we're very excited about. And then from there on, anything else that goes. This is currently not active yet. So we are very rapidly developing. It's on our kind of short-term roadmap, but it isn't live today, right? That's also something that we want to further develop. That, as you in your question asked, like, are you going to be able to buy kits with tokens? Anything that you can do with real money in the real world aligned to Genomes.io. Eventually, we want that to be functioning on our platform as well.
Yeah, like for example, like if you wanted to stake your gene tokens, you'd be able to maybe do that through the app.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you guys have like a regular meetup or something like this in the Discord, or are there channels in the Discord where people can say, this is what I do and I'd like to get involved? Like, tell me a little bit about how to get involved with the Genomes community.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. So I'm kind of leading that charge a bit. So our Discord is rapidly developing and getting better over time. I think maybe a day before the launch, we're going to have kind of like a Genomes DAO day, right? And then we're gonna, anyone that we've gotten a lot of interest from a lot of people saying, hey, I do this in this genetics field, I'd like to get involved, or hey, I'm a DeFi developer, I'd like to get involved. And we definitely are gonna need a lot of help from a lot of people. So we're going to have kind of like a Genomes DAO day and kind of talk through like the project, where we need help, where everyone can fit in. As for the Discord, we're adding some more channels, like ways, how can I contribute? Different things that you'll see in like some really like nice Discords, like Creators or like Klima or Olympus or something. Hopefully we can get it to the point that, it's super, super lively.
I think we actually have a channel for Creator DAO in the Genomes Discord as well. Am I right?
Yeah. I just made that.
So people from Creator DAO can come over and hang out and hang with the Genomes people and help to kind of figure out ways that we can like really communicate this message, because there is a lot in this message. It's not. I mean, yeah, you can simplify it, right? But there is a lot going on. So there's like layers and layers of stuff going on. So I guess in a way, like simplifying stuff is good, but also, like a lot of people like to geek out on stuff, right? And this is something that you can geek out on a lot.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add, kind of put the plug in here. So we'll be running like a meme contest, right? Because I think crypto Twitter, it's filled with memes, and memes are actually one of the best tools for communication. So we're going to be running a meme contest. Details will be coming out shortly, but basically, you can win up to 1 ETH worth of Gene tokens for just a meme and a follow on our Twitter account. And we'll be putting that, like the details out for that campaign shortly. But yeah, so to all the creators, if you guys could like amplify this message on like Twitter leading up to our public launch, but you can, who would not want to earn, 1 ETH for a meme, right?
That sounds awesome. That sounds totally awesome.
I have a question about that actually.
Yeah.
Would it be like economically sound to like give out gene kits instead of actual crypto? Like, I don't know, like you guys gotta have like a big warehouse full of gene kits, or like you guys have to like order these into like basically like, drop order, is it, I'm not sure, just wondering, like,
Yeah. No, that's a really good, oh, sorry.
No, it's a good question. We have done in the past, and so in Indiegogo, it's not that's kind of like an early to market platform whereby you can buy the kit, and then the first ones we sold were at 80% discount or something like that, right? So there's definitely the option of doing a similar format here. If people are interested, I would need to check in with the one responsible for the logistics of all of it to see how far we can do it. I don't know if it can be completely done for free, but it can definitely be done at a the kind of very deeply discounted rate. Right off the bat of my mind, and we might even be able to do it for free. But before I say yes to that, I want to check in with our logistics guy because he's been dealing with all the kits. And as you say, we need to look at availability, but then also sending it up and forth, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, let me just add. So, like this meme campaign. Thanks for asking that question. I think what we're wanting to do is just get folks in the Discord, right? And the reason why we're asking you to make a meme is that if you make the meme, and if you just like go on the website and read the docs and just understand the project and what it's trying to do, and you make a meme that way, it helps people understand like what the project does. Because I think a lot of times, we'll see in like crypto, like this is like a super complicated like DeFi protocol, and this is how it works and everything. But for us, we're just wanting people. We just kind of want the exposure. So that's why, when this campaign goes live, if you guys could just blast it like everywhere, like, hey, you make one meme, you just go understand kind of how the project works, put it in the, the DNA like home type format. Right at the bottom, there'll be some examples in the like campaign in our Discord. But we just really want people to kind of understand what the project is, and then come make the meme. And then who would not want a chance for like 1 ETH worth of gene tokens for just a meme, right? So yeah.
Awesome. It looks like Markio might be back in the channel.
Hey guys, sorry.
It's okay. You were talking with
He's
Ethercodes?
back.
Yeah. I was just talking with the EtherCards marketing team because they're going to do some stuff around it as well, and learning what they're up to. Man, they're busy.
Yeah,
they were saying
busy
They were
times.
saying it's nice even if because we might do the NFT project through them, and if we do it, they were saying, it's nice to not be. They're just getting loaded up with PFP projects, and it's nice to have something that's a little bit extra, a little bit kind of like physical redemption, and there is intrinsic value in the NFT in that it's a kit. So you'll always have a base of this is worth this much, right? As opposed to PFPs that can get rugged to zero.
Okay, is there... Okay, like, this is going to be a bit out of left field, but is there, a lot... Like, there's a segment of people who are looking for, like, real value, and I think it's the case here for this project. It's a very real project with very real, like a partnership with AMD, like founders that have done real business stuff in the real world and have been working on this for a substantial amount of time. But is there, in the tokenomics, is there some pumpermentals? Is there some, like for the people who, like moon boys that just want to kind of buy a token and just have it go up a lot? Is there, like, what are the tokenomics? Is it sound, is it like super conservative, or is there some mechanism, like high APY staking, or, is there some way to lock up these tokens so that, the like something that, or is there some, burning of the gene token, or is it undecided? Is this something that the DAO will kind of decide as you go?
No.
And obviously there will be an element of that, like evolving. But yeah, could you talk a little bit about the tokenomics and the vision for the what's the use case of the token, things like that?
Yeah. So the as mentioned, there's two tokens, Gene and Gnome. The Gene token is a deflationary utility token, so we're selling 30%, up to 30% of the tokens at launch. Which is a maximum of 1,000 ETH. So they will be the only Gene tokens circulating, which means that the circulating market cap will be 1,000 times whatever Ethereum is. So like 4.5 million. The total market cap will be 12.5. 13.5. From that, the deflationary is every time the tokens is used, a little bit of it gets burnt. We're saving some of the Gene tokens. We're locking it away. We'll make this all clear in our tokenomics documentation for purchase by Big Pharma. So we're reserving tokens for Big Pharma to buy. Because of the deflationary aspect, we can sell them to them early, and they get more usage out of them as the value of them increases. With the Gnome token, I'd be interested in hearing what everyone's thoughts on whether this is... I like to think of it as kind of like yearn finance. So there is no... The only way to get Gnome is to stake your Gene. So you stake Gene... There will be... The first two pools we'll have is Gene and an ETH pool, and you'll earn Gnome, and a Gnome and an ETH pool, and you'll earn Gene. And so there's no other way to get Gnome. This is a token that is a governance token that will inherently have value. So as soon as you start staking it, is where the price... As soon as you start staking your Gene, you earn Gnome, and that is a token in price discovery, right? There is no value on it yet. But it is the governance of the company. There's only 10 million of them, total supply of Gnome. And with that 10 million Gnome, that is the whole company, right? So there is going to be a value allocated to it in the same way that you'd imagine there was value allocated to Yearn Finance tokens, Wi-Fi. And, they had 36,000 tokens, I think, and we've got 10 million. So, we're a factor of 30 bigger than that. But you can start to elude tokenomics based on that level as well.
Well, I just want to dive back at... Thanks for the tokenomics stuff. I just want to ask, just dive back in again, like to like, how do we scale this to, like, this is a huge like, this is a massive market, and I think there's already some pretty big players in this market, right? So this is obviously a small, we're at like a small stage now, but the vision's massive. Like, how does this scale? Is it just going to be like emergent? Like, there's a roadmap, and I know there's, business development and all of this stuff happening, but like, what's the secret sauce here to scale this? Or is that something that will emerge from the DAO, from the governance, from the governance model, from just having so many new people invested in this with a vested interest in making it work? Like, how's it going to scale?
So, on the plans for scaling the numbers of people using it, this is where the funds raise will be going to, right? It is business development. Most countries have a national genome organization in which they're doing some level of genomic sequencing of their citizens. We want to partner with them. There's a classic case of Genomics Medicine Ireland, where they're sequencing the genome of everybody in Ireland, but they don't, because of old laws, it makes it hard. They get all the data, and then if the law changes, they can't do anything with the data. So by having this two-way conversation, nobody else has a anonymous and two-way conversation with the genome owner. And so you can have repeat consent, which doesn't exist anywhere else. And so this repeat consent model works very well with organizations, with rare disease charities, with national initiatives. So we're focusing on, the UK, it was the 100,000 genome project. Now it's the 5 million genome project. So the UK government is sequencing 5 million genomes. So we want to get involved with that. And so the way to scale is not on the B2C level, it's on the B2B level. And a lot of the funds that we raise will go for, as you said, we spent the last 3-4 years building out the tech stack. So, which was difficult and long and took, the AMD stuff is complicated, encryption is complicated. Aligning that with genomics and bioinformatics is complicated. And so now we have the tech stack. The organizational tech stack is just being finished. So as we roll into 2022, it's go to every one of these national governments, go to every one of these organizations, the NGOs, and saying, hey, you're sequencing genomes, we can store it in a better way for you. And so that's the way that it scales. Every usage of the gene token is of benefit to the DAO, takes a percentage, and that's why the DAO will make the decisions on it. And that's how it scales infinitely. Well, not infinitely, but if there's a billion queries going on every day, then we get to a point where there is a lot of scalability, a lot of use of the token, a lot more of a deflationary element to it, and then the value inherently goes up. So it's win-win on that level.
Can I talk a little bit ask a little bit about the scaling as well? I'm particularly interested in my personal ability to use my DNA to benefit my life, as opposed to the monetary value of selling it to for whoever research needs it. So I'm wondering, currently, in the market now, is there an abundance of people who are understanding specific aspects of the DNA and can then therefore produce these kind of reports that you talked about, these ability to tell me, don't eat peanuts, or, don't go in the sun for more than 3 hours, or stuff like this. Is there a lot of people in the research field doing this that will easily be able to convert their knows or their skill or their research into your platform and give me the ability to access that data or that knowledge?
Yes, 100%. So we like to think of it as kind of like an app store where the thing that sits underneath it is the genomes, right? So the cost of getting a genome sequenced, and if you are a baby born with rare disease in North America, you get your genome sequenced. When you're 15, where's that data? Oh, we'll have to get it sequenced again because we don't know where it is. It's probably been sold off by the government. So there are examples of people who do very specific tests, and there are 100 of apps out there already. And so we're looking to, and they're anything from fun to more serious. So screening for breast cancer, whether you are likely to get breast cancer, is a big one in that's well known. It asks a few questions of your genome, but you need to get your genome sequenced, so it's a high cost of goods, things like that. So the company that does that charges in the thousands for it, reduce their costs by having it as an app available on the Genomes marketplace, and still get provide a cheaper service and get higher profit margins on it. And then you can apply that to, there might be somebody who's a PhD student in doing some genomics work, and they say, well, actually, you can find out if you're more sensitive to, I don't know, weed if you've got these 3 genes that you express. So they could do one which is, pay 10 gene tokens to use this test, and it tells you this fun stuff, and they get 90% of the revenue from it, and we get a small percentage of that. So there's lots of ways in which this scales up. There's thousands of tests already out there, and it's a mix between people who do this for fun and don't have a way to. It's very akin to the App Store, right? You build an app, you make money on it. You need everybody to have the app. The only thing that you need here is you build an app for genomics, and you just need access to everyone's genome. So that's what we can elucidate there. But there's already people using this for diagnostics. So I actually have a good genome story, which is I got my genome sequence, found out I was a carrier for a disease. If my wife was a carrier for that disease, we'd have to go through some pre-medical screening if we wanted to have children. So she got her genome sequence, found out she wasn't a carrier for that disease, so we can go ahead and don't have to worry about that when having kids. So it's already got real-world applications today. Even the out-of-the-box queries that you get with the Genomes test today, the Genomes DAO test.
I just wanted to add to that, we're so excited also to be working with all of these new initiatives that are coming up. And when they work with us, we take away a lot of the initial pains of when people have new good ideas of reading genomic data and using it, to create a new report, because we are already this database of so many genomes and so many people interested to do something with the genome. So on that level, we're somewhat agnostic, that we don't necessarily say, okay, we only do research on this or on that. No, everyone can come to us and basically ask, hey, can we ask all the people who have a vault on genomes.io if they would be interested to work with this or to work with that. So it will increase their understanding. So we really want to be on the forefront of advancing research and to go deeper when it comes to understanding our DNA and the infinite possibilities of what we can do with it.
Great stuff. Awesome.
Yeah, it's great, man. I think it's really cool. I like the permissionlessness of it too. Like, you guys can just allow anybody who's interested in researching DNA and providing this service to just add their service to you. Yeah, it's like a library. If he wants to write a book, he puts his book in the library. You guys are the library. It just doesn't matter. You can put your book in our library. I think that's cool. I think that's really good.
What do you guys like? We've talked about the Alchemix thing. Like, what other integrations could you put on your kind of futurist head a little bit? What other kind of integrations could you see? How else could you see Genomes kind of becoming a Lego piece in the crypto space, whether that's this current crypto space that we're in now, or a few years from now, what kind of integrations or partnerships in this space could
Yeah,
Could you
there's a few really cool ones, right? If you just, I mean, this is the good thing about every time we have conversations, we come up with, well, we get told about new ideas and new ways in which you can use it. And I think, the NFT space is completely wide open with the idea that, if you have a CryptoPunk, it has traits. If you look at the CryptoKitties white paper, it talks about the CryptoKitties DNA, right? So there's cool stuff you can do with encryption and saying, okay, I'm going to hash my DNA, my genome, and you get all of the visible traits, and you get a unique code based on it, and you get a unique NFT on it, and you can, breed them and all of those fun things. So the NFT space is really wild when it comes to that, and access in certain ways, but that could work in different ways as well. If you want, anonymous medical chat groups, everyone who has cerebral palsy can meet together in a certain thing, and you can have a PFP. You can have a NFT in your wallet that says, yes, I do have this disease and I can be a part of this group, in the same way that you have gated stored groups and things like this, right? The other things that we think about in terms of the passive income space, I think, GameFi and the Axie Infinity side of things, that's shown that passive income really can change people's lives, and by playing with the DeFi space, you can amplify that. And then, as you say, I think Alchemix is one of the good ones where you can say, okay, we can. It's this idea of using collateral to bring out physical goods, and I think nobody's really doing that well at the moment. This idea we spoke about before, lock an ETH. If you've got an ETH, you're not doing anything with it, you're earning something. You could come to our platform, lock an ETH for 6 months, and you get your kit sent out straight away. So
do you think that the genome itself could be used? Do you think the genome itself could be used as collateral potentially?
Yeah, I mean, when you extrapolate out on that level, I think if you're saying that a genome inherently has value, there are always going to be people who can say, well, who are we to say that you shouldn't sell your whole genome, right? I
guess it could be possible that you could lend your genome to someone else you then give them permission to take on any request, and then they can earn off that, and then at a certain point, you still own it, right? Like they're going to borrow it from you, say. So you're not selling it, but you're using it to kind of lever maybe. I'm not sure how that would work though, because I assume that you could
use it as, if you have, say, if we know you're getting 10 queries a year for $100 that you're accepting, and you're short of cash. Right. You can say, hold on, well, can I just, I will set it using a smart contract to say that the next 10 queries I will accept. Because the pharmaceutical companies will want to buy that data. And so you can say, I know that I'm gonna commit to accepting the next 10 queries, and therefore I know that I'm gonna get paid 1,000 gene. So can I get that gene token up front? Because I need to, pay some medical bills or something, right?
I think that, so we've talked about Genomes DAO depositing ETH into Alchemix, right? But what if there was just what if you could go to Alchemix website and you as an end user could deposit your ETH and you could get a test kit in the mail?
100%. Or, you could get to really wild things where you say, I am signing away the next 10 queries of my genome to be, I will accept those queries in exchange for getting sent another kit that I'm giving to my, family member for Christmas, and then they can start earning money as well.
It's money Legos all the way down.
It is money Legos all the way down.
Well, I think we've speculated enough now. So, is there anything else that we need to cover?
I only have a couple of logistics things, but it's less of an AMA.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe we could just go on to those things, because I think we've been going now for, is it 2 hours?
Yeah. It is. I would have went and came back.
In fact, you want to leave? Okay, let's just let's. Are the logistical things related to how we're going to do the incentives for?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
We can take it offline.
Yeah. Well, we could. I mean, maybe we should. Should we just schedule something and just get more DAO more members of the DAO, or we can just take it offline? I don't know. I'm kind of. I think I'm just about cooked.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you need from our end, you can always ping me on Discord, and we're happy to do this again, or whatever you suggest.
Yeah.
Take it forward.
Yeah.
Happy to take on whatever you want to bring together. For.
Well, I think we've got a lot of material now to work with, so I'm gonna stop the recording.